Selamat pagi. สวัสดีครับ Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, HDC, for having me on stage. I'm a bit excited to be here as a representative from the Islamic Bank of Thailand, a one and only Sharia bank in the multicultural environment. So, when I was first approached by HDC to speak in this forum, I thought that when we discuss about halal, ESG, Islamic finance, there are a lot of similarities. But from the bank perspective, I was thinking what I would like to share to you. As a banker, I think ESG nowadays is a jargon. You go everywhere, people talk about ESG, sustainability. It seems to be a buzzword. So, you have heard this morning about trends, about the booming industry in many sectors of halal. So I'd like to present to you a story of I would say, a small bank in Thailand who look to ESG as a guiding principle to find their way out as a transition. So bear with me for a moment. I have to admit to you, I was a commercial banker for almost 25 years. I just took over this position for less than a year now. I decided to take over this position because when I look at the Islamic bank, I look at the Sharia, they already have a capital. So with that capital, they should excel in the ESG space and in the sustainability. That's why I picked the topic of Islamic Bank of Thailand and Halal ecosystem journey toward our own sustainability. My topic that I like to share to you comprise of the 5 areas. I like to discuss about the history of the Islamic Bank of Thailand, our 20-year experience that we evolve as a Sharia bank, and how we set a new vision to use ESG and sustainability as a guiding principle to shape our way out of the situation that we have at the moment. And the third, I like to share with you the halal ecosystem, where and how to play and how we position in that space. And fourth would be our experience, our initiative, our project that we have started this year on the move toward ESG and sustainability. And I would end up with key takeaways for entrepreneurs and SME, everything. I understand a lot of audience would come from the SME sector. So with that SME mindset, if we could do it, why don't you? We are basically 20 years organization. This year mark our 20th year. And I have to admit, the bank have been through a number of challenges because we was set up as the one and only Sharia bank. And imagine in Thailand, when you are small and you seem to be a niche player, it's very hard for you to find the right balance between maintaining the mandate to become a Sharia bank and also to thrive in the business. That's why the bank has been through a number of challenges until we got support by the government 10 years later with the almost 100%. So we are now what they call the specialized financial institutions. On one hand, we have to carry out the policy, and on the other hand, we still have to do business. So that's why we need to be some sort of niche player in this space. These are a quick introductions of Islamic Bank of Thailand. I mentioned to you we are almost 100% owned by the governments. We offer a full-fledged Sharia compliance offerings. We have deposits, we have investment, we have takaful, and we have everything. And we have committed to help the society, particularly in the southern part of Thailand, where we have the largest Muslim population. And with the government support, we have enjoyed the stable Fitch rating from that organization. It's basically our geographical location that we have. It's quite strategically located. If you look from the northern side, where we have a number of tourism in Chiang Mai, for example, and look to the northeastern, where Thailand has the largest agricultural base, that where a lot of production, a lot of manufacturing in the agricultural sectors happens. And look to the central Bangkok, in the central area where the business is located. And if you move down to the south, is where we have about 2.5 million Muslim population, a border to Malaysia. We have almost half of our network in that area. How we set our new vision? We look to Islamic finance as our core. And we think that the bank fit well in that ESG space. Because these days we talk about responsible consumption, responsible lending, responsible financing, good business conduct, you name it. That's the capital that Sharia Bank already have. So I would say that the Sharia Bank is a forerunner in this space because they already in the sustainability, which is nowadays a hot topic. So with the ESG criteria that complement halal factors financing and also the investment. And you look to the post-COVID, a lot of things is backing up back to normal, traveling, but the demands of the customer is changing because they require a lot of hygienic. They care more about their well-being. They care more whether the product that you make are also social concern or not. So this is the trend that you have heard this morning about that important trend that's picking up by the other speaker. So this basically our strategy map, just one page. I use that page to explain to our staff, to the authorities, to our shareholder. It's just one page that tells everything. So we like to set our vision to be a financial institution that provides service according to the Sharia principle for sustainability. So we look to just a couple of pillars. The first pillar is on our mission. As a Sharia bank, of course, we have mandate just to provide service to serve the Muslim community. But we also position ourselves as an alternative bank for the non-Muslim. That's why our base of customer is half Muslim and non-Muslim. So we some sort of cater to a diverse group of our customer. That's why we need to be a bank that provide a lot of service to those customers. And when we look to sustainability, it's gonna be our guiding principle. We look to ESG, we look to sustainability, but we not start from the scratch because with the Sharia capital, we are ready to build ESG into our practice. Make sure that we use Sharia, we serve the halal communities, and we also bring in ESG as a criteria when we do some lending. So these are examples of our ESG portfolio at the moment that we have done over the last couple of years. On the environmental side, we finance a number of renewable energy power plants in the southern part of Thailand, where they work with the chain of the village people for the biomass. The village, they call the business community, they also have some ownership in that power plants. So that's part of the environmental project that we finance. We recently financed the EV motorcycle dealer in the southern part of Thailand. And we also finance the NGV transportation, the operator who operate a fleet of trucks that use the natural gas is basically a green enterprise. So that's the portfolio on the environmental side. And on the social side, yes, we are Sharia banks. By law, we are required to provide SCAT mobilization for our customer. That's something quite special about us. So our customer, our depositor, we help them mobilize their SCAT, which is a religious duty that they have to perform. We provide financing to One Healthcare to be more affordable in the Narathiwat province. Narathiwat province is close to Kelantan. It's a province where by income factor, the poorest province in Thailand. We finance a chain of hospitals who provide the affordable healthcare to those people in the southern part. The Al Amin program is basically the program that helps the underserved. We provide certain financing through mosques where the imam could help their people in the communities to get rid of the trouble, debts and everything, to revive their life after COVID. So that made a meaningful impact during the COVID time. And we finance a number of the religious schools in the southern part of Thailand where people could have access to education. And on the government side, we look to ourselves as an open state enterprise in terms of transparencies, and we engage a lot with stakeholders, authority, people, staff. So of all three, I think the governance is perhaps to me the most important part. If you have the right governance in your operation, if your people would know what you would go, it helps a lot when it comes to E and S in your own business. So to me, governance is key. Once you get a proper control, you get a proper awareness, you get a proper organization, you would do well in that environment and social with the two factors. So this basically the ESG that we set ourselves to be a guiding principle. You have heard this morning from a number of speakers that for ESG, that might sound like a big word. But you have done it already to a certain extent. If you look carefully, a lot of activity, a lot of business that you have done so far, CSR, for example, that's what you care for the society. So you already have that capital, I could assure you. So let's get closer to the Sharia and ESG. There's some overlap because the two are led by the guiding principle. You care for the society, you care for the fairness, and you want to make sure that what you do would have the impact on the society and the people at large. So ESG and Sharia could go together. It complements each other. And if you put that into the Halal sector, it might be even better if you could incorporate that ESG into your practice. The reason why it makes a lot of sense to me because with ESG, you speak the same language at other business. Because Halal, to my perception, when we talk about Halal, it's mostly for the Muslim community. But when you bring the ESG in, you bridge the gap between the conventional products and Halal products. So it's being closer in terms of gap, make it more well perceived as a friendly to the society. That's why we have seen a number of Islamic banks, they position themselves as an ethical bank, which sounds very meaningful when you present it marketing-wise. So how we bring in the sustainability and ESG into the Halal is what we, in the case of Thailand, we look to the UN SDG. Each country has a different priority when it comes to SDG. Thailand, I have to say, the latest year, we have a mixed result. We did good in certain, we quite moderate in certain. But in certain area, we need to do a lot of improvement. That's why when we put ESG, halal, and everything, I think that complement each other. If our SME is strong, if they find the right market to operate, that help the country. Because you have heard many times that SME is the trust of the economy. Thailand is no exception. And with the sustainability is more business focused. It's not just a CSR in practice. You have to set the target that you have to meet. You have to make sure that you get the financial result from that. So to me, it makes a lot of sense when you put the sustainability or ESG into the way that you do business. But of course, facing for adoption or transition is what to plan and prepare. That's why this morning I heard a number of speakers mention a role about the bank or financial institutions in help the SME to go through this process. So I mentioned to you already that we as a bank, we design certain program that we could help our customer, our borrower, go through the transition process so that they could meet certain requirements for ESG and the other, so that they could compete in the wider market. Let's go north to Thailand. Let me share with you a number of experience. I have to say that look from the Thailand perspective, when I look at the role HDC, I'm impressed. You guys are very organized. The way you organize the gathering today, I have heard a lot of useful information, sharing everything. Malaysia has done well in this area. We have to follow. But I'll share with you what's unique about Thailand when it comes to halal. We have a diversities as an agricultural base. We have a number of tourists coming to visit us. Thanks to your guy, number one visitor to Thailand from Malaysia again. So we are friends. So come back to see us more often. Thailand is quite unique in the halal industry. Even though it starts from the community of Muslim, we have a Muslim population about 10%. But if you go to Thailand, you talk to halal nowadays, people understand. You go check on website, you check on Facebook, where to find the halal restaurant in Thailand. Very easy. They navigate you to find the right one nearby. So there are lots of excitement about the halal products, halal foods, halal way of life in Thailand. It's a big push for us to operate in this market. And particularly in the food sector, it's grown up quite exponentially, particularly based on the base that we have in many products, durians, everything, you name it. This is a legal framework that how we do when it comes to certification. We have CCOT. It's your JAKIM counterpart. It's a body set up by law for the certification process. We have certain standards set up by the cabinet resolutions at the certification process. We have a party like university, for example, and recently we have a newcomer. It's a Halal Institute from Prince of Songkhla University. They set up this body just a couple years ago to embark on the halal ecosystem as the R&D developments. So I explain to you later on about the role of each one and how we work with them in this ecosystem. So let's talk about a couple of trends similar to what you have heard this morning. Halal food, of course, I think we have abundant, as I mentioned to you. We do have a halal tourism because Thailand ranked fourth as a top non-OIC popular destination. Luckily, we see friends from Middle East, we see friends from Malaysia, from Indonesia, but we still receive a number of frequent visitors from those countries. We are famous for the medical tourism. If you go to the Middle East, you talk to those people, they know Bamrung Rat, they know the Bangkok Hospital. I once was told by those people they call the American Hospital. I wonder why they call the American Hospital, but to them it's more like American concept. That's why Thailand is quite unique when it comes to medical tourism, and the government would like to promote it. Fashion, I think everywhere. And the last one where we operate is Islamic finance. So you can see from this sector, we is a player in this sector. So as a halal finance, we position ourselves as a halal finance for the halal value chain. That's how we would like to present ourselves. So where and how to play? When you talk about the sustainability, of course, you have to start with the materialities, what important to you. For us, we look to the economic impacts. Of course, we are in business. We need to make some revenues out of those activities. But the second thing that we need to make sure that when we carry out that business, we would be able to carry out that mission, the mandate that we receive as a Sharia bank. So we have to strike a right balance between business and mission all together. That's why we start with the small project, area and project based, at least to start on that our ESG journey to make it more manageable with the proper resource. We think of ourselves as an SME because we are small compared to our peer. So that's why we start with the small project. Let's make sure that it's manageable. If we succeed, we scale up. If we don't succeed, we get back and think of the other initiative. That's why materiality is very important as a first step. And the second step is we need to make sure that we could provide certain value to our customer rather than the pricing led. Because as a bank, when you operate in the competitive environment, the way for you to survive is to get some refinancing from other banks. When you offer refinancing, the first thing that customer would ask you with that, would I get the reduced rates in terms of profit rate or not? If not, I wouldn't go to you. So refinancing is a challenge. So we change our role from just a bank to become a partner or incubator to help them go through this process. We have to identify the market that we could excel in that halal value chain. And the last thing which is important, determination. I mentioned to you that we think as an SME. So we have to think big, start small, but most of all start. That's how we prepare for our project. We have to look to partners like universities because they have a good R&D partner. We have to consult with the CCOT or Jakim Thai to get their support. We have to communicate that a lot to the central bank, to the authority, to get their understanding through its journeys. Luckily, we got that strong support from those stakeholders. The last thing which is quite important with the consumer. You heard this morning about Generation Alpha. They get more demanding. They want to make sure that when they buy certain product, they get some service. They get from the producer or manufacturer that think of the social concern. So it's no longer B2B relationship between bank and borrower. We have to think of the B2B2C because the consumer are here. They like to see that as a bank, as a Halal bank, we work with Halal player to produce those product and service. That's very meaningful because this day people watch YouTube, people watch TikTok, you see this morning. We would like to become part of that so that as a Halal bank, once we work in the Halal value chain, we could get a good perception from those consumers, and with those consumers, they would become a good depositor to also go through this process. That's the key. So, how we do it? I mentioned to you, we start to set sail on this ESG journey. We position ourselves as a Halal bank for Halal value chains. We work on one program just recently to promote, to incubate, to groom SME to go through this certification process. And we work with academics, institutions, and we look to the southern part of Thailand as our sandbox that we can test, we can try our initiative. If that works, we would scale up to the other part and perhaps to other countries if possible. So this is a picture that we took with our peer, Export and Import Bank of Thailand. We set up the program called the Promoting and Supporting Halal Product Exporter. We recruit small SME to work with us. If they would like to get some Halal certification, they come to our boot camp. We work with them, we prepare them. We would like to make sure they could meet those requirements. And we work as a bank to provide financing to them. And Exim Bank provides service when they want to export to a certain country. They provide the export guarantee. So on our side, we work with CCOT. Make sure help them get some certification going through the process and requirement. Exim Bank work on the outer market side. This is an example of how banks work together to help their customer. Luckily, we start to get some company to be on board already. So we expect to see certain activity, perhaps next year, for them to export to countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and to the Middle East. This is another initiative that I mentioned to you that Prince of Songkla University, a reputable university in the southern part of Thailand, we work with them on the Toyiban project. We look to Toyiban as a Halal Plus. You not only meet the Halal standard, but if you go higher to make you Toyiban, that's the value added. So we work with them in terms of R&D, knowledge, everything. It comes down to a lot of technical. We help to train certain officers to be in certain factories. So this officer do just more than the typical officer. They help them go through a compliance to meet those Halal requirements. And with that, it helps them in terms of audit, it helps them in terms of compliance, let them meet certain standards. So we look to this project as a equip our customer in the program with a better knowledge and better markets when it comes to Halal. So these are a couple of initiatives that we work in the southern part of Thailand. Rat Nara, I mentioned to you that we finance affordable healthcare so that they could provide affordable service to people in Narathiwat. And perhaps we could expect to get some visitor from Malaysia for that service. Laban Soy is a soy milk. The owner has an aspiration to go to Toyiban because its product is well received by people in China and in other markets. We groom them, we help them. We would like to see them grow with their products. And the last one is private Islamic school in Yala. They have 6,000 students, quite big, quite large. And they're quite success. A lot of their students participate in a lot of competition overseas in science, in language, in arts and everything. So this proven that religious school is not just a religious school. They could provide certain things that their students could excel and to compete and become a good citizen going forward. So these are the small projects that we embarked on recently in the southern part of Thailand, where we have the largest Muslim population. So I like to sum up, perhaps if it's of interest to you, a few key takeaways for my presentation. ESG, we make the halal become mainstream soon because it bridges the gap between halal product for Muslim and non-Muslim. So with ESG, you speak the same language. You have heard this morning a lot of NNC. I think they incorporate into their practice and the way they do business. So there's a huge potential for the halal sector. Second thing, you have to look to value-added service. To me, Toyiban is going to be something important because people will care about the quality, their well-being, the hygienic foods and everything. So you have to keep up with those requirements. If you could excel with Toyiban, I think you could succeed in the better markets. So this day, you don't look to a country or regions as a market. The world is now your market. With e-commerce, technology and everything, it is quite easy for a person in a small village. We have seen it all the time. They sell their stuff to, Facebook, YouTube, everything, TikToks. And they make a lot of, good money out of that activity. So it is now a trend and practical, low investment. You can reach out to build your own customer. You see it everywhere. The last thing is technology. I think traceability is getting more important. You have heard this morning about the initiatives in Europe, CBAM, for example. From now on, if you become part of the value chain, you need to make sure that everything could be traceable from farm to fork. That's happening already in the food industry. So very soon it's going to be happening to pharmaceutical, cosmetics, everything, you name it. So for SME, you could not ignore the digital adoption. You have to invest. But luckily, as a bank, as a small bank, we small, but we are free to operate with any partner because we don't have to invest in a lot of IT investment. We can work with certain partner. We do cloud computing. This day we have a lot of offering from many technology vendor. So as an SME, I think you are in a better position. Of course, cost is an issue, but you have to think of long term rather than short term to make you survive and sustainable. I have to end my slide. This morning, I walked into the coffee shop at the Hilton where I stay. The waiters welcomed me, and they put me a small coat, which surprised me this morning. The coat say, you don't have to be great to stand, but you have to start to be great. That's exactly quite touching for me and for you as well. So on the journey to ESG, you can see from this picture, money would come with free, come with green. You have to start now and keep up the ladder, the staggering of money. If you get it right, you will soon would become excel in this market. So Lucky everyone. Thanks again for having me for this opportunity.